Chapter 5. The Man Who Vanished. Present day, National Archives, Paris. The word on the page stared back at Ellie. J. Calloway confirmed deceased, 1943. Her pulse thrummed in her ears. Theo was still reading, but all she could focus on was this single date, 1943. A year after his letter, a year after he's still desperately searching for Celeste, a year after he disappeared. Theo's voice broke through her thoughts. It doesn't make sense. Ellie looked up. What? There is no burial record, he said, tapping his finger on the page. No official site, no reparation records, nothing. It just says he was confirmed deceased, but by who? Ellie's breath hitched. Could it have been a mistake? Theo frowned. Maybe, or maybe not. He hesitated, then leaned closer. Maybe someone didn't want him to be found. A chill ran down her spine. Ellie turned back to the book, her hands trembling slightly as she traced the name. Something about this felt wrong, like a puzzle piece into the wrong place. And worse, she felt like she already knew the answer. Theo stood suddenly. Come on, Ellie blinked. Where? To find the last place James Calloway was seen alive. 1942, occupied France. Celeste sat in a dimly lit cafe, her hands wrapped around a chipped porcelain cup. The war had stolen warmth from places like this, replacing it with hushed conversations and cautious glances. Across from her, James was studying the worn piece of paper on the table between them. His jaw was tight, his fingers tapping against his knee. A sign that he was thinking, planning. We leave tomorrow, he muttered. Celeste swallowed. James. We'd already waited too long. He looked up, his blue eyes burning with quiet desperation. Every day it gets more dangerous. If we stay, we won't survive. Her hands clenched around the cup. And if we leave my father? I know, his voice softened, but Celeste, if they find out what he's doing, you'll be in just as much danger as he is. She exhaled shakily. He was right. But the weight of what she had to do was crushing. James reached for her hand. I love you, he whispered, and I need you to trust me. Celeste looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time, she let herself believe in something beyond war. Maybe they could make it out. Maybe there was a life waiting for them beyond occupied France, beyond fear. Maybe love was enough. She opened her mouth to say yes, and then the cafe door burst open. 2 German officers entered, their boots heavy against the tiled floor. Celeste stiffened. James didn't move, but she felt his hand tighten around hers beneath the table. One of the officers spoke in clipped French. Laurent. Her breath hitched. The man's gaze swept the room, cold and searching. James' voice was barely a whisper. We have to leave now. Present day, French Military Archives, Vanson. Theo pulled open a dusty file, scanning the yellowed papers with careful precision. Here, he said, sliding the document toward Ellie. She leaned in, her heart racing. 1943, James Calloway, American pilot, captured outside of Paris. Fate unknown. Ellie's breath caught. Captured? Theo's expression darkened. That's why there was no burial record. Ellie ran a shaky hand through her hair. But why was he never accounted for if he was a prisoner of war? Theo cut her off. Because he wasn't taken to a POW camp. Ellie froze. He tapped the page. This report was sealed. That means James was processed like other captured soldiers. Her stomach twisted. So, what happened to him? Theo exhaled. That's what we're going to find out. Ellie looked back at the file, her chest tightening, because deep down, she knew this wasn't just research. This wasn't just a story. This was something she had already lived.